so this is just some feedback I was doing, and it tends to be the same thing that we see over and over again. So it's very easy to describe what you're doing, okay? And I see people, you know, going course by course through the text and go, right, well, I've done this module, and I've done this module, and I've done this module. But instead of doing that through every course that you've taught for the last 20 years, or 10 years, or 5 years, whatever it is, this is what I was saying this morning. Think about what drives the way that you design teaching. So if you think about your underpinning philosophy, I am trying to, you know, create active learning environments. I'm trying to create environments that enable students to construct their own knowledge. And therefore, I will show an example of this from this module here, where I've done this, and this is the feedback I got from the students. So if you start with that, what is it you're trying to do? Okay, why is it you're trying to do it? And here's an example, rather than the other way around, which is what you know, I often see in the first draft, which is a big long description of all the things you've done and a sentence at the end that says why you did it. Okay, so if you start thinking about what motivates you for the way that you teach, and that should be the thread all the way through it, and then you're just providing illustrative examples from different modules. You don't have to describe every module and every piece of work that anyone's ever done. So, so just to, I don't know if you can see the text on that from where you're sitting. I mean, it's not too crisp, but basically it starts off with quite a long description of the background and where the person got into higher education. Okay, that part needs to be cut right back, really, and it needs to kind of be flipped around. You know, you can include all of this, but you need to say, you know, these are the things that inform the way I teach now, and it's like 2 sentences. So it could have been, you know, understanding how students learn, which this guy learned in teaching in a secondary school, or student support or something, and some other things. So, so all of that can be cut down to my understanding of how students learn was built on this experience. Okay. And then at the end of it, he's included all these values, which are fine. But you'll see from my comment, you can't put these claims down because this paragraph's talking about his secondary school experience or outreach experience. Okay, so you can only put these values down when it's actually in higher education. Mm-hmm. So in that guy's example, he was working. I can't remember where it was now, but it was not in the higher education sector. It was either in an outreach program or a school or something. So you can't add these in here. But what I would change that paragraph to is my understanding of how students learn was built on my experience of doing this, and I realised da 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 da. But that's like 2 sentences, not a whole paragraph. Yeah. Okay. And so my other comment here for them is, you know, cut down on the descriptive elements and focus on the reasons why you're doing something, reasons for your choices, and that's a more specific response. Okay, so, and I think, you know, it's quite a common mistake to make. And I'll email you out just a set of questions that you can use yourself to critique your own writing. So, if you're thinking about the ways that you design and plan your learning, okay? So again, think about the reasons for your choices. Why did you choose to do problem-based learning? Okay, I don't want like 6 pages on how the problem-based learning worked and the scenario and what's happened. What I'm interested in is, why did you choose problem-based learning? Why did you select the scenarios that you did? What was the impact on the students? How do you know that, you know, that was the impact? Okay, so I don't want 2 pages on, well, I put them in groups of 6, and then I put them in groups of 7, and then they did this, and then they had a formative assessment, and then they had a summative assessment. You know, it's much more, the group size was informed by PBL literature, which says a group of 6 or 7 works best. Yeah? Okay, so it's that kind of flipping things around. So what was the reasons for your choice of the activities and teaching and learning techniques that you used? How you make choices, and then how you incorporate other dimensions of the framework. Okay, so you know, once you've just got the activity, what was the relevant core knowledge that you're using using to design that, and what were your professional values that the themes exemplifying. Okay, let me just see if there's any other relevant comments in this one. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Excuse me. In the last session, Mr. Melek told us to expand on our past experience. Write your CV in detail, he said. So, you
No.
forget about it.
No. For your fellowship, it should not be a descriptive account of your life as an academic. It should be, this is my teaching philosophy, this is what I try to do as a teacher, and these are my examples of how I've done it in different contexts. So you can just then give examples. This is how I would do it with first year students. This is how I would do it with final year students. This is what I did with master's students. So then you're contextualising your underpinning philosophy. So if you take your example that you know of problem-based learning, why do you want to use problem-based learning? Because it is very much centering the student at the heart of deciding what they want to learn. It goes back to your example of giving control back to the students. But then you would say, well, in the first year, students are used to a much more didactic pedagogy. So how do you scaffold and support them in the first year? You know, how do you allow them to progress to the final year where they're fully fledged problem-based learners? Okay? How do you select the scenarios? You want authentic examples from industry. Okay, so it's that kind of having the thread and then providing examples rather than lots and lots of descriptions. All right. And then the other thing that I'm just picking up from the feedback I gave this other guy was, do you have evidence of impact? So if you're saying my students found this engagement with the employers really valuable, you know, what evidence do you have for that? Do you have an email from them saying, you know, thanks for that class, I then connected with the employer after the class, or, you know, I found it really useful, any of that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be, you know, a sworn affidavit, but if you've got an email from a student that says how much they valued something, if you've got module evaluations that support what you're saying, you can then just include those as well, okay? And then just the final thing on that, any other comments on here? If you're focusing on impact on staff or senior fellowship, it has to be, the main thing has to be your impact on staff. Your case studies have to be around how you've impacted colleagues, okay, not just students. All right. Okay. Any questions about that? I've put a Dropbox now into the virtual learning environment under Module 3. So if you want to upload any, and I would recommend you upload just a short piece of text, you know, a couple of hundred words if that's all you've got, and I can give you feedback on that before the end of the week, rather than waiting for a fully fledged piece of work. Okay.
So the form of our writing should follow always follow the same principle, like first your philosophy or your objective, and then the descriptive example.
Yeah, I think you know the way if you look back to that philosophy that I had this morning when I showed you the one that I brought out, you know, my philosophy is to encourage student-centered active learning, for example, and then that kind of underpins everything that I do. Okay, so you know, I said active learning this way, active learning that way, so you know, it kind of brings it all the way through. All right.
So it will be okay for me if I don't summarize the whole semester or what I'm planning, what I actually did.
No, don't summarize the whole semester.
But use specific examples to support my point.
Yeah. Okay. So you might say, I don't know, so maybe you'd introduce flipped learning, okay? And then so you would say, this you know, promotes that. You know, so I would say, I'm very keen on active learning in the classroom. I'm keen on having social construction in the classroom. Therefore, I flipped my classes. I put the content in the video, and to encourage students to engage that. In the first year module that I teach, this is what I did in the classroom, and then in the final year module I teach, this is what I did in the classroom. Okay. So, but you don't have to kind of give it all the chapter and verse about what the module was about. You know, you just have to sort of describe what was unique about that learning environment. Okay, so this was with final year students, it was a capstone project, this was first year students. you know. Okay, so it's using lots of examples to explain why you teach how you teach, rather than just describing everything that you've done. Does that make sense? Right, I mean, you can ask me more questions at the end of the day, and certainly throw some stuff into the Dropbox, and then I can give you feedback on that. Okay, so just talking about the micro-teach for tomorrow. We'll start at 10 o'clock. Well, you're all familiar with the concept of micro-teaching, yeah, and what the goal of it is. So I mentioned that this morning. So basically, what it allows you to do is to test something out. As I said this morning, I'm more interested in you trying something new that you haven't tried before than demonstrating what a great teacher you are. You know, I want you to get out of your comfort zone and try something a little bit challenging. Okay. So you can sort of rehearse something that you might want to try with your students this semester, and you just want to see what it feels like, how long it takes people to do the activity, you know, lots of different things like that. And you will, of course, get very positive, constructive feedback from all of your colleagues, so, you know, that's got to be a good thing. And hopefully during the course of the session, we'll get to observe lots of different strategies that people will try and use. So we'll get a feel for some different ideas and things that we might want to put in our own practice. You yourself will have practice the experience of reflecting in the moment while you're trying something new, and of course reflecting afterwards when you discuss it with your colleagues. And hopefully you'll build your confidence, your versatility, your competence at using different techniques. So what's not to love? Okay, so way back in April we talked about this quite a lot, making some kind of change to your practice. I'm not sure if we specifically went through all these, but we started talking about why you want to make a change to your practice, what you plan to do differently, and we've started to talk about how you would evaluate that. So we're not worried about that bit. And what I want to see tomorrow is a demonstration of that. I don't want you telling me what it is you're going to do, okay? So I don't want to hear 5 minutes on, I'm going to introduce problem-based learning into this module. I want you to be in the moment. We are all your students, okay? You are going to deliver the class as you would to your students, okay? As a class, we want to know what it's going to look and feel like to be one of your students in your classroom, okay? So you're not telling me I'm going to flip my class next year. You're not telling me I'm going to use Kahoot. If you want to use Kahoot, you set up the Kahoot, you set up the questions, and we will answer your questions. Okay? We are your students. Does everybody understand that? Sorry if I keep reiterating it, but I've done this before, and then people come along and go, well, I'm going to do problem-based learning, right? Well, do it now. So the key thing is, this is the important, it's the opportunity for you to actually practice doing this. If you want to set up a debate in your class, set it up with us and see how it works, okay? All right, so everybody happy about that? Well, we're maybe not happy is the right word, but you understand what I'm saying. So you're going to do 6 minutes, and as I said this morning, I am ruthless. I will pull you off the stage. You'll be shot if you go over 6 minutes, okay? So just some examples there. If your idea is that you're going to split the content, you have to imagine that we've all seen the video, okay? So we've come into your class imagining that we've seen the video. What are you going to do now with us? Okay, we all understand the content. What are you going to do now? You've now freed up this 2 hours of class time. So we're just going to get a 6-minute snippet of that, okay? If you propose a problem-based learning approach, give us the trigger. How are you going to initiate discussion? What are we going to discuss? All right? So we're going to do it tomorrow morning. We'll start 10 o'clock promptly. I think with this size of class we can watch everybody's, but then we'll break into groups of perhaps 4s, and you'll give feedback. So before we start, we'll identify who you're going to be giving feedback to. So you need to make more notes, obviously, on that person. Okay? Yeah? And I'll give you maybe a little performer to help you make the notes. And then I'll give feedback to you all afterwards. I'll email it to you afterwards. All right? So, anybody got any questions about exactly what you're going to be doing? If you want to use a PowerPoint, you need to be here at 9:30 to load it onto the system, because I'm not loading up different ones all the way through the day. through the session. So I want them all up here to start off with. Okay. So if you haven't arrived early to get it on the system, then you don't have a pound. I would encourage you to kind of, think outside the box, ignore Microsoft.